I'm going to call the Concord School Committee meeting back into order. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to note quickly that we are being broadcast live, actually, and recorded. I'm also going to say quickly an explanation of why I get the gavel for a few minutes. Officially, for anyone who's following, we are... Oh, and I need to mention that we have one of our new members to be seated on the laptop over there, Skyping in from out of the country. So there are actually 4 of us, he's waving. There are actually 4 of us involved here, even though you can only see 3 of us. In the interim between chairs, the most senior person is supposed to kick off the meeting to chair. That would be Wally, who's also out of the country, so you're stuck with me for a few minutes until we actually seat our new members in position. So, by way of quick explanation. That being all said, the most exciting, really not the most exciting, but the first business of the night is seating our new members. And we have motion wording here. So we're going to call to order. We have 2 newly elected school committee members who are going to be seated now. I would like to request that a Concord, oh, sorry, move the motion. I guess I can't move it. I would like to request that somebody move the new school committee members to be seated.
So I'd like to move that Cynthia Rainey and Yuval Ehrlich be accepted and seated as members of the Concord School Committee and the Concord-Carlisle Regional School Committee, although I think that latter one is unofficial until May 28th when the Regional School Committee next meets. So we welcome Cynthia and Yuval to the Concord School Committee.
Actually, no, they're seated to both. They're seated to Concord and Carlisle at once on this one, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Because as part of the Concord School Committee, you're automatically part of the Concord.
All right, I defer to the superintendent and the acting chair.
You're right. Who's not acting so well. I would second that.
So the motion you need to read, and I apologize for interrupting you.
Yes.
If you go to letter A, you're going to need to move that all 5 of you get
That's true.
named as members.
Could you read
Okay,
that?
so we've been directed to the actual motion.
Oh, here. You have it. So if you move to
So I move
recognize.
that we recognize Cynthia Rainey, Heather Bout, Yuval Ehrlich, Wallace Johnson, and Court Booth as members of the Concord School Committee.
And I'll second that. And is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous. I would then take nominations for chair of the Concord School Committee.
At this point, I'd like to ask you, Heather, to speak to the idea that you serve as chair. You have been elected to your 2nd term on the committee. You're now in your 5th year. We have a lot on our plate, and I don't know if that means you're ready to shoulder even more leadership responsibility, but we know that you would hit the ground running if you were to do so. So would you speak to your capacity to take on the chair?
Absolutely. Is there a second first?
I second that motion.
All right. Make sure there's not too much debate here. I'd be happy to thank you for bringing it up. I will acknowledge that there is a lot going on, and especially with our middle school planning coming up and the fact that we haven't yet designated who will be on our various committees, particularly the building committee. Obviously that will be a lot. That said, even though I may be somewhat involved with the building plans continuing to go forward, I would be happy to chair. I would also be happy in case of changes as we move forward with who we seat on building committee and other liaison positions. If we think we need to spread things out more, I can always step back at that point if we need to. But given where we are, I'm happy to take it on. and glad to do it.
So I note that my question has been considered a motion and seconded. Discussion on that for me would include the following. I think the two chairs have a critical role of, among many others, of being conduits of information to the other school committee members.
Definitely.
And we have a rather unusual degree of turnover this time.
We do.
So I would urge you, if you accept the responsibility, to redouble that communication among the committee so that we're all more effective in the larger community, because we can very effectively network on behalf of the school committee, but it requires a high degree of information. And we don't all want to swarm Lori's office on a daily basis.
Absolutely. I solemnly do swear to protect Lori from all of us swarming her office on a daily basis. No, I couldn't agree more. And most people know we've been working on communication for years and increasing it with the community also, but it is critical that we keep ourselves in the loop as much as we can, obviously. In terms of sharing, in what we can do is share facts and updates. We obviously can't discuss things out of open meetings. So, in fact, I was talking today about some various ideas in terms of how to do that. So I think you're right, it's critical that we keep our flow of communication very clean.
Yeah, there's a lot of new people.
Yes.
Aware, so, especially at the, not in this committee, but at the region.
Yep, at the region we'll have a lot of new faces also. Good.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor.
Any other discussion on that one? Then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, thank you. That's unanimous, all four of us. Any opposed?
May I, Heather?
Yes.
May I request that all of you, especially court, will speak to the microphone?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
That's the only way I can actually
Yep.
talk to you.
Good, thank
Heather,
you. For
yours isn't
anybody,
on.
that would help, wouldn't it? For anybody who just came in, we have one member who's live on a laptop with us, and so we're going to make sure that he can hear us. This one's not coming on, which is why I'm not on. Oh, there we go, we got it. Great, I would then like to steal that from you and accept nominations for a vice chair of the Concord School Committee.
I nominate Court Booth as vice chair of the Concord School Committee.
I would second that. And in terms of discussion, Court has done a great job in his first year. I think you would do a great job as vice chair. Are you up for it?
I'm not surprised, and I'm up for it. Yes,
Okay, good.
I'd be happy to serve.
Then I will follow on to your last comment and say that as vice chair, I am going to count on you to help me with communication a lot.
Very good, thank you.
Perfect. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Any opposed? That carries. We now have a chair and a vice chair. Okay, important business done with. And now we are on to, oops, we don't have our, Jared, did you just bring printed agendas?
And I did that with you guys.
Awesome. Can I have one? I would love it.
So I think you can
Okay,
just
I
note
think-
that if you look at the agenda, we're actually not going to do the election of officers and appointment of school committee recording secretary.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the secretary.
We did, right. We did election of officers.
Right.
Well,
You could do the secretary, or we could wait and do it as part of the joint. That's, I think, a choice.
Yeah, I think, don't we often do it at both?
We
Just
do.
appoint her for
So-
both? So
Go ahead and do
I would
that.
take a motion to appoint Erin Higgins as recording secretary of the Concord School Committee.
Second.
Any discussion? I would say great thanks. Erin does an amazing job for us.
We assumed she wanted to keep doing it, so we'll go with that.
Are you up for it, Erin? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Wonderful. Thank you, Erin. You're officially reseated with the Concord School Committee. After that, we have public comments. Do we have any public comments? Any filled in? Any public comments? No? Okay. Moving right along. The minutes on here we actually already approved, so we're going to jump right to recognitions, and I'm going to let
Sure.
Dr. Hunter introduce.
I'm going to introduce Mr. Cameron, essentially. He's here along with a number of kids, and I'm going to let him do all the introductions.
All right.
But we're excited
Perfect.
by what he's bringing. I had a highlight of it before the break when the poetry was shared with other students at the middle school. Really exciting poetry readings and theatrical demonstrations of the readings happened student to student, which was exciting and fantastic. And then Mr. Cameron's going to loop right into the playbook initiative that was led by a high school student who unfortunately, or I guess fortunately for her, is in France on the exchange trip, so she can't be here. But he's going to talk through what happened on that really exciting day earlier in the winter, and has a great video for you to share. So we're just here really celebrating Concord Middle School tonight.
This is the fun part of school
I know.
committee, celebrating what goes on in the schools.
Okay.
Welcome, Mr. Cameron.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce 7th grade teacher Elton Price as well. He
Hi.
teaches 7th grade at
Welcome.
Sanborn.
So April is National Poetry Month, and we're starting a new tradition. I love those two words put together. They're an oxymoron. But we're starting a new tradition at Concord Middle School where we're hosting Poets in Residence. What that looked like in Concord Middle School is the first 2 weeks of April. We welcomed 2 poets. One came to Sanborn, one came to Peabody. And they took over 7th grade English classes for 2 weeks. And they really empowered the students to take a poem on paper and bring it to life. You know, what does an oxymoron look like? What does personification look like? What does a metaphor look like when it's acted out? The culmination or apex of this residency is one of the most powerful assemblies I've ever seen. I've been part of this residency in my former schools, and that is the seventh graders put an assembly on for the entire 6th grade. So we had 256 graders in the Sanborn Auditorium where 7th graders performed works of poetry for them. And that happened on Thursday right before April vacation. So we're here to give you a sample size of the assembly that we had for our 6th graders. We have one group from Peabody that I will introduce. So Chance, Kai, and Matthew, if you could come on up. These 3 are from Mrs. Curran's class who couldn't be here. As they're coming up, I want to thank all the English teachers. Sarah Okers for allowing this to happen. She's the English department chair at Concord Middle School. And all the 7th grade English teachers who allowed these poets in residence to take over their classes. Should they, do you guys want to maybe move over here?
How about, you know what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the camera should see them. That's
Yes.
great.
Okay.
Where you are is perfect.
So you guys are good.
You can face
Is
that.
this enough room, do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so then there's your audience.
You guys.
Come around here.
That's okay.
And come over here so we can see too. All right. You're on.
This is Ode to a Toad by Anonymous.
Ribbit, vroom. Ow.
I was out one day for my usual jog
I go kinda easy, rarely full hog.
when I happened to see, right there on the road,
The squishy remains of a little green toad.
I thought to myself, where is his home?
Down yonder green valley, how far did he roam?
I felt from out in the pond I heard sorrowful croaks.
Could that be the wailing of some of his folks?
I felt for the toad in its pitiful state.
But the day was now fading, and such was his fate. In the grand scheme of things, now I confess, what's one little froggy, more or less? Death sounds.
Stand up.
Well, it's such an amazing job. My name is Alton Price. I teach 7th grade English at Concord Middle School, and I'm very happy to introduce 3 talented and dynamic young women. As an educator, I really enjoyed the poetry in residence. I love language, and I thought it was a great idea to have students have language come alive. That's really what I observed. It was great. So Sarah, Rotem, and Lily, can you come up?
The Drum Dream Girl by Margarita Engel. On an island of music, in a city of drum beats, the drum dream girl dreams
of pounding tall conga drums, tapping small bongo drums, and boom, boom, booming with long, loud sticks on big, round, silvery, moon bright timbales.
But everyone on the island of music, in the city of drum beats,
Believed that only boys should play the drums.
So the drum dream girl had to keep dreaming quiet, secret, drumbeat dreams.
At outdoor cafes that looked like gardens, she heard drums played by men. But when she closed her eyes, she could also hear her own imaginary music.
When she walked under the wind-wavy palm trees in the flower-bright park, she heard shh, the whir of parrot wings.
the clack of woodpecker beaks, the dancing tap of her own footsteps, and the comforting pat of her own heartbeat.
At carnivals, she listened to the rattling sound of tap dancers on stilts.
In the dragon clang of costume drummers wearing huge masks. At home, her fingertips rolled out their own dreamy drum rhythm on tables and chairs.
And even though everyone on the island of music had reminded her that only boys had ever played the drums,
the brave drum dream girl dared to play. Tall conga drums, small bongo drums, and big, round, silvery, moon bright timbales. Her hands seemed to fly as they rattled, rapped, and pounded all the rhythms of her drum dreams.
her big sisters were so excited that they invited her to join their new all-girl
dance band. But their father reminded her that only boys should play the drums. So the drum dream girl had to keep dreaming and drumming alone.
Until finally her father offered to find a music teacher who could decide if her drums deserved to be heard.
The drum dream girl's teacher was amazed. The girl knew so much, but he taught her more and more and more. And she practiced, and she practiced, and she practiced.
Until her teacher said that she could play her small bongo drums outside the starlit cafe that looks like a garden,
where everyone who heard her dream bright music sang and danced, and decided that girls should always be allowed to play the drums.
And both girls and boys should feel free to dream.
We'd like to thank Mr. Cameron for this opportunity, and for Mr. Price for all of his support with our poem.
And for our resident poet, Mr. Ken, who taught us about poetry and basically introduced us to it. So
thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna give you the latest chairs. Alternate.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you, students, and may your drums always be heard.
Yes.
Thank you all.
That was truly incredible. It's inspirational to see what you've all done and the experience that you made that. It wasn't just reading and studying poems, but really bringing it to life. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was really neat to see.
You know, again, the power was that assembly that, we just saw 2 of 26 poems that performed in front of 256 readers.
Wow.
That assembly didn't cost a cent.
Wow.
The poets coming in cost us money, but
Right.
that assembly didn't cost a cent. And just very powerful stuff.
Very.
Really, it was great.
Oh my gosh, thank you for bringing that, sharing it with us. That is wonderful.
Could you speak a little bit to the process whereby, Mr. Price, you certainly on occasion put challenges in front of your students that they at first thought were impossible?
Yeah.
What happens next?
Sure. So I feel that the students were a bit nervous at first because they felt intimidated by the fact that they had to act out the poems. But given a few days, and I think given the necessary support, most of them did well, as you just saw. So I think overall, my students are very bright. They're willing. I think given the support and given challenges, if a teacher is able to scaffold a way for those students to meet the challenges, I find that they often do succeed very well.
Wow.
And I'll just add a little even more to that, having been at the assembly. For them to do it in front of their peers, I don't think there's a more frightening audience for a
Yeah, that is true, especially for middle schoolers.
But the level of respect, and I give Justin and the poet, and just the climate was set to be one of thoughtful respect and appreciation. And that's all we saw that whole entire assembly. And I don't think there's another middle school where they leave enjoying poetry and valuing each other the way that we saw them do that on that Thursday.
You may have caught it, but the only thing they're allowed to use is chairs. No costumes, no props. The work has to be what's out in front.
Right.
And that's a big part of it as well.
Wow. That's neat.
Thank you.
And such creativity. That's great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so you're moving to the playbook challenge.
Yes, I'm supposed to have two sitting next to me. Andrew, our MECO director, could not make it this evening. And as I think Lori said earlier, Gretchen Carr. I knew that students her age don't really answer email very often. So I did have to email her parents yesterday and just confirming, Gretchen may have missed the email. She's in France. Good for her. So here I am. I have a video to share with you that shares a little bit about the day. And then this whole initiative started with Gretchen Carr, who is a CCHS junior. So the video, which is right in the middle of our homepage there.
Right there.
Who's excited for today's Celtics playbook?
You gotta say something else?
Nope, I'll share afterwards. Thank you, Doc.
Initiative. Can we get some energy in the room, please?
So we're going to get started in the program today, and I just wanted to thank you all for being here. It's so great to see all you guys today.
We're here this morning for a Boston Celtics Project 351 diversity training for students.
Which is a nonprofit that focuses on bringing together an 8th grader from every town to unite to do some leadership and service so that we can kind of unite the entire Commonwealth.
Racial discrimination, like sexual orientation, all those kind of things, and so they create groups in your school, and then you try to have a project which you work on throughout your school to make your school and your town a better place.
So this is the Playbook Initiative through the Boston Celtics, and a couple of our high school kids who participate in Project 351 applied because they saw a program they thought we would really benefit from.
And the Celtics and Brad Stevens actually unveiled the project in 2 middle schools in Lawrence and North Andover, and they brought the 2 schools together. And they had the students devise the playbooks and the scenarios.
So this all started with a Project 351 alumni, a junior up at Concord-Carlisle High School, who approached me and said that a joint application from Concord Middle School and from herself had to be put into the Boston Celtics into Project 351.
So I wrote a couple essays, talked with the principal, get the middle schools involved, and they had to actually write a part of the application, a letter saying that they're committed.
Justin Cameron, principal here at Concord Middle School, sort of signed me up for it. So I welcome the invitation and the opportunity to facilitate courageous conversations with our middle schools.
We were able to sit with the Boston Celtics. They were able to give us some professional training in the areas of cultural competency and diversity.
But this was so perfectly timed. We're in the middle of a cultural competency initiative across the district.
So a little bit about our district. As a district, we continue to strive to be a more culturally competent community. We have set our intention to be responsive, proactive, and empathetic to all facets of culture and diversity.
It's really exciting because these are the first middle school schoolers who are participating in the program other than the first time they ran it.
I think this was even more exciting because of the student-generated idea to allow students to have these conversations.
So I think the work that both Project 351 and the Celtics organization is leading is really instrumental in helping our students sort of have the tools and knowledge and language to be able to have those conversations.
And so the middle school kids, about 30 of them are engaged in activities.
We have 6th, 7th, and 8th graders from both buildings.
What we're going to do today is we're going to do a couple icebreaker activities, which every big session like this has, just to get the kids moving and interacting with one another.
And you're going to see some discrimination against orientation, discrimination against disabilities, and we're going to be learning about how we can change those ideas that people might have against people that have those problems.
Be sure to allow everyone a chance to speak.
Encouraging people when they get stuff right.
Don't interrupt each other.
So now that we have all of these, we're going to continue to remember them as we go through the activities and programs today.
Exchange your identity sculpture with your partner. Without speaking, you may pull one part, one pipe cleaner, out from your partner's sculpture.
Sometimes we forget what makes us a person, what makes us important.
We start to have a discussion about
world issues and stuff, and how if people sat down and had a discussion and let others kind of talk about being themselves, we could kind of change the world in a lot of ways.
One of the pipe cleaners went off, so the whole sculpture fell apart.
You have a choice if you want to be a leader or not because you're in control of your own life.
In a perfect world, it would always be your choice, but because there are bad things that happen, certain people who may not want to be leaders have to step up.
What I feel is most important about it is getting the opinion of other people across.
Because it's something we may not have thought about, something can make a point that you've never thought about, or like something that you hadn't really considered before.
Like I would ask the person who used the sign why they used it, kind of. And I would also ask the person who the sign was directed towards, like if they wanted to talk about it.
How would you guys feel if you were the one being made fun of, or if you knew something? How would you feel if someone you loved had a disability? Something you heard people making fun of?
I would be frustrated because they're not choosing to be that way. That's just who they are, and that's their way. That's their form of communication. It's not nice to make fun of them because that's how they can talk to people.
Only 15 other towns across Massachusetts are doing this, so they really hope that this is like the first, I guess, cohort of students doing it. And I don't know, maybe in a couple of years this becomes a big national event, which would be awesome, just to teach students these really valuable lessons.
Wow.
So what you didn't see, that video was made before we had a chance to visit with some of the Boston Celtics. Al Horford, who plays, I think, forward or center, sat right next to Concord Middle School students and engaged in a discussion like this probably about a month after that. Gretchen Carr, the very next day, received an award in front of 18,000 people at TD Garden with the work that she did, bringing this to Concord Middle School. Again, 30 schools were accepted into the program. I think well over 60 schools applied. And it was the Project 351 alumni. So she was a Project 351 ambassador when she was at, I believe, the Sanborn building back 4 or 5 years ago. So alumni were offered the chance to partner with a middle school in their district. And what she did was she emailed me on a Friday, it was due Friday at midnight, put together a letter, did some copying and pasting from our district.
I get a text,
division.
you're good with this, right? Sure.
And we were chosen. And when we went to the training, when it was Andrew, Gretchen, and I, we went to the training, they actually paused when they came to Concord and said that they should take a look at our strategic vision and the Concord Middle School school improvement plan, because they really felt the commitment to this work was authentic. And that was cool because the other districts that were there and the Boston Celtics that were there really validated the work that we're doing.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh my gosh. I can't even tell you, having been a part of some of these discussions from a couple of years ago about wanting to be more focused and engaged in true, authentic cultural proficiency in this district, and knowing that it's not an end goal that you're going to reach in a year or two, but a long process. But now being at this point of such just wonderful, real interaction like that, it's just so neat to see.
So at its core, the playbook is supposed to equip students with, if they're in a social situation where there's bullying happening, harassment happening, anything like that, they're better equipped to what to do. More than the cliche, go tell an adult. That's a part of it, of course. But being an upstander is a big part of the curriculum. Our next steps is, we were able to bring 30 students into the PVD gym to do this work for about 4.5 hours. We had over 120 students who applied to be a part of that day. So our next steps is to do this every couple months next year. So we cycle in 30 students, every couple months next year.
That will have a huge impact.
Yeah. And do the students who've already participated in this kind of participate in spreading that message somehow?
Yes, absolutely.
And how does that work? Where does it go?
So I think
how
by
does it branch
modeling,
out?
so if they are faced with a social situation that they were kind of trained in, then they're models. You know, hopefully they would cite the work that they did that day and say, you know, this is exactly what the training we went to or the workshop we went to, or what the Boston Celtic told us.
Yeah.
You know, what was powerful was when we attended the Boston Celtic training, they were like, exploit us, exploit our players, exploit the franchise, exploit the Boston Celtics name. Because, you know, 120 students, I think, came because the Boston Celtics had endorsed the program. And the Celtics have been kind enough, along with the NBA, to allow us to continue next year. We were the only school, too, that offered that as next steps. So they were pretty excited about the fact that we're going to continue this without officially being a partner school, because next year they want to do another 30 schools.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's terrific.
Yeah, just such a safe environment for really hard conversations. You couldn't be anything but struck with the forum it was giving kids to say, you know, name the situations and scenarios they're naming, the racial slur is actually named. And what would you do? And how are we going to handle that? And how does it make other people feel? And, you know, a really safe place to have hard conversations. And I think equipped the adults. And of course, we had certain facilitators there who had been trained, because that's such a key piece of the work with the kids, is that the adults are comfortable with the conversation and feel like they know where they're wanting to go.
Right.
And I think that's some of what this program's offered us, is a really planned way to structure those conversations with the kids.
Because it can go off the rails.
It can, and many adults are very uncomfortable. That's some of the work we're still doing with the staff, is that cultural competency, professional development, and realizing their own, but also bringing in, how do you have these conversations?
Absolutely.
And I can't help but think that the high school is going to have to, in such a positive way, adapt to the students headed their way. Because they're doing their own work there, but what you're doing in CMS is going to change that.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Build on what they have.
And again, I want to thank Andrew and Gretchen.
Yeah.
You know, again, Gretchen started this whole thing. You know, I saw that email on a Friday night. I looked at my wife. I said, you know, you got to move with this. Absolutely. You know, I would be remiss not to thank the Concord Middle School teachers and staff and guidance who just wandered into this training. So we pulled 30 kids out for about 4.5 hours. We let the entire faculty and staff know, you know, during a prep period or whatever, come on down to the PBD gym. And they, you know, you may have caught it in some of the scenes, they just kind of took a seat and was a part of the conversation, which was really powerful.
Oh my goodness.
I think this is when the work we're doing matters most, that it's coming from, you know, this isn't in the action plan to say we're going to do this. It had to come from a student and get buy-in at the school, and boy, that's the best of all worlds.
But it, you know, it does speak to the very fact that you picked up that email and you all quickly moved on it with the faculty, speaks to the readiness of the school and the readiness of the faculty, which speaks to the work you've done to be ready to move quickly when opportunities come, that fit so perfectly into the strategic plan of the school district.
And I'll just
you saw the connection and moved right away.
And Mr. Cameron is always willing to do that to his own detriment, usually. And he's been here with all the other things going on, and he doesn't ever miss that kind of an opportunity. So we're just grateful he's open and willing to take on the hard, work too.
Taking your Friday night and many more hours.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Thank you so much. That's great. And we have some more very exciting recognitions to move on to. We now get to present some awards from Cpac, and I will let them come up and take over from here for a little bit. We're going to get out of the way and give them our space here. Here, why don't we just move over here this time? Actually, yeah, I like what we did over here. Oh, unless they're gonna, there, yeah.
We weren't really leaving.
What's that?
We weren't really just leaving.
Bringing everyone else. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Hi. Oh, in and around. Okay, I'm gonna move out of the way then. Come on in. here.
Yeah, we've got a crew coming in, so I thought we'd.
All right.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
What a crew, my goodness, come on in.
All right. Wow. That's impressive.
Are we still in a good place or should we
I don't
from
know.
here? I think this is good.
Are they coming this way? I'll go. Yes. All right, so I'll go back up.
Musical chair.
I know.
Figure out where everybody could fit.
Yeah. Perfect.
Hi, good evening everyone, and welcome to the third annual Cpac Appreciation Awards, which we're delighted to have the opportunity of using the forum of the school committee to deliver these awards and to recognise our award recipients publicly. So I'm Helen McKinley, and my colleagues here behind me, Becky Robichaud and Casey Atkins, we're all members of the Cpac board, and we were the subcommittee who organised the awards this year. So welcome everyone, and thank you all for coming. So we asked our parents and caregivers, is there a special teacher, staff member or administrator who's made a positive impact on your child's life? We also asked them, how has that person made an impact on your child's and family's life? And we had the most amazing response. Up here, these are some of the words that we used to describe our recipients. These are picked out of all of the nominations. Families responded to our request by nominating a record 50 people to receive an award this evening. This is more than double the amount of nominations that we received last year. And amazingly, 7 of those 50 people were nominated more than once, which is, again, incredible. The recipients are administrators, they are staff members, they're general education teachers and special education teachers. A lot of them told me they were coming this evening. 38 people told me they're coming this evening, so I hope they're all here. If they're not, I apologise for calling a name if someone's not here. So 38 of these dedicated team members are with us this evening, and we are so happy to be able to thank them for all that they do. So when the nominations started to come in, we started to think about, we wanted to find a quote that we felt summed up what we were receiving from people, what people were saying about our teachers and our staff members and our administrators. So we found the Maya Angelou quote: people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And this was a consistent theme. Not only did the families speak about how their children were supported, encouraged and inspired, they spoke of their gratitude in how these award recipients made their children feel about themselves, about school and about their future. And now on to the awards themselves. We're absolutely delighted we've got a lot of awards to present this evening. We're going to invite people to come forward in groups by school. So we'd appreciate it if you could hold your applause until we've got everybody up here as a group, and then we're going to give them their certificates and their highly prized Cpac pen sets. These are going to become a cult item in Concord. So as I announce your names, please can you come forward, all of you guys. So to start with, we're going to start with the preschool. Obviously, we're going to start where it all begins. And we've got an amazing 6 award recipients from the Concord Integrated Preschool, and hopefully all of them are here this evening. So please can Carla Abbott, whether she's here or not, I think she is. She is. Donna Balmuth. I haven't seen Jennifer Di Francisco.
Yeah, she's right here.
She's hiding in the audience. Elizabeth Fiddler, I know Elizabeth's here, Anne-Marie Johnson, and Nancy McGregor. Please come forward to accept your awards.
Now can we clap please?
Oh, well, I forgot to say, I was supposed to say, I've got to say, we're going to take a picture of each of the groups, and then we can post it on the Facebook, Twitter, and also send it out to the guys as well. Yeah. And now we move on to the elementary schools, and we start, of course, in the traditional fashion with Olcott. So there were 8 award recipients from Olcott, and I hope 6 of them are here this evening. So please can Dan Aker, Lisa Haley, Jennifer Nye. Dan, hi. Nice to meet you. Jennifer Nye. Brigitte Sales, I know she's here because I've seen her. Kate Sexauer and Michael Woodland, please come forward to receive their awards. So obviously now, we move on to Thoreau. We've got 6 award recipients from Thoreau, and 4 of them should be with us tonight. So please can John Capata, there he is, I've seen him, I'm here. Peggy Harrington, Sarah Keller, and Jill Sinclair, please come forward to collect their awards. So finally, the elementary schools in Oxford Willard. There were 10 award recipients for Willard, but unfortunately 5 of them are here this evening. There was a lot of childcare commitments, and also sports games were moved because of the rain yesterday. So please can Maren Holmes, Nancy Langford, she's at the back, Jennifer Thistle, Jackie Turner and Amy Wiley got to receive their awards. And now we're on to middle school, very see Justin's here this evening as well. So we've got 6 award recipients from the middle school, and 5 of them are here tonight. So please can Peter Baldacci, Kristen Callahan, Karen Heineman, Meg Jensen and Molly McGee come forward to accept their awards. So finally from the schools, Concord-Carlisle High School, we've got a grand total of 12 award recipients from Concord-Carlisle Regional High School, and I'm hoping 11 of them have joined us tonight. Is Ray Pavlik here? No, he's not. So it's 10 have joined us tonight, which is a shame because Ray was also going to receive an award on behalf of his wife as well. It's the first ever husband and wife appreciation awards, which we thought was quite good. So please can Dr. Colin Cox, who's here, I know, Doug Delory, thank you, Jennifer, Katie Aldrich, Michael Goodwin, Ben Pendle, Nancy Ashley Thayer, and Patty Worth. As I just spoke to, as I saw Patty walking by then, it reminded me that she was the only person that actually had a student write her. Come up here.
Ben, can you lie down across the
and then finally for the awards, we've actually got 2 recipients from the special education team here at Ripley. The first one is Marielle Winterstein, who most of you know is normally our out-of-district coordinator, but now is the acting director of special education. But she's been nominated by her out-of-district families for her out-of-district. And finally, our final award this evening is actually a Cpac award. So this is for Ellen Schlotoff. Story, Ellen. Ellen is actually being presented with the award following, I know you all love her as well. for her efforts and her commitment to helping us.
I love Ellen.
Well, you know, she supports all of us.
The pen is awesome.
I told you they're going to become a cult item.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Thank you. So, and just finally, we'd like to again thank the school committee for the opportunity for allowing us to come here to present these awards. And most of all, thank you to all of you guys. Firstly for coming and for all your dedication and your support to all of our families. So thank you all.
Thank you.
We want to thank you, the Cpac, for making this so very public, and it's a very well-deserved public celebration of the work that these fine educators do. The parents might have done the nominations, but the kids provided the evidence, brought it home, and resulted in your awards tonight. So thank you very, very much, all of you.
Yes.
Thank you very much so.
It's also a very dedicated Cpac. It's been a remarkable group, and I've been here a few years, and I think they're all a very special group.
Thank you. That's lovely.
Thank you all for your night out. We're really glad. Thank you all for staying.
We'd love to be a plus
Good. Open it up, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. Stuff is right.
That's all right.
Okay.
Is that you?
This one, yeah, this is me.
Put the room back together.
Wow.
Wow.
I know. This is I think so. Oh, sure, yeah. Right. Yeah.
Me too.
Wow. Oh, what an experience, you know, after spending the last few months up until last week just so buried in warrant articles and budgets and everything to just experience some of what's going on in the schools like that and get to appreciate it is just so wonderful.
Did our absent member or present member with
She said I saw it on TV.
Oh, good.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Perfect. You can see it all there. We know our broadcast is working well. Wonderful. My goodness. So moving right along, we have chair and liaison reports. I know we don't have much from liaison.
I have nothing.
Yeah, good to know. Let's see. I was going to mention, just as part of the chair's report, since I'm now sitting in that seat, I wanted to bring up something that came up today, really, as we were in process, that we just need to figure out process-wise as a committee. As most of you know, today was the public session with public interviews with the two finalists for the new position that is Director of Special Services. Student Services, sorry.
We're all still
Director, I'm getting there. Director of Student Services, which replaces what was the Special Education Director. So, process-wise, that has gone through what seems like an amazing process already. A committee has vetted.
Court's been there with us.
Yep, many resumes, down to the two finalists. It now becomes a decision that Lori needs to make, but also wants our input from both committees.
And legally, it is your decision.
And legally, right. This is a position that the school committee actually hires. So we need to establish how we're going to run this process now. Obviously, we don't have another public meeting between now and the next few days when the decision will need to be made. So I would recommend that we designate a couple of us to work with Lori in the next couple of days to represent the committee and an opinion. We can also invite someone from Carlisle to be a part of this as well, based on their schedule, see if either of them can join.
Right. Which would parallel how Jared was hired a year ago.
Right.
Some districts make it a more public school committee interview, others delegate representation to work with the superintendent. I think we're fairly on parallel with what we did a year ago, where there was at least one member right in the process from beginning on, and then at the end looped back in a couple of people to sit and do the final rounds with me, so that there was feedback right to the final decision that was collaborative school committee and administration.
Let's pause for just a moment and bring people up to date on
Sure.
what that process
Good
was.
idea.
Just a quick capture of
Sure.
The process through today. Would you be so kind?
Absolutely. So the search committee consisted of approximately 20 people. It's representation from across all of the schools, regular ed, special ed, service providers. Cpac had 2 parent representatives there, very wide-ranging group of people. Resumes were screened through that entire group and collectively came to a group of 6 court we ended up with. Interviews of 6. And so those 6 were interviewed prior to the April break. Right before the break, the 6 were narrowed down to 2 finalists to be forwarded to me as the candidates for strongest consideration. Today we had those candidates in. They each did a session with the administrators, a session with staff, and a session with parents, all within a couple of hours that they were at the high schools. And we're grateful for the turnout. We were well represented by the staff and also by the parent group. We had also done a survey earlier in April looking for characteristics and qualities of what people were looking for in the position and any particular topics that they thought needed to be part of the questions along the way. So we're into the late stages now where I'll be making reference checks over the next couple of days and then invited them back at the end of the week for some one-on-one time with me. We have to make sure it's a fit for them as well, so that's usually where I do a lot of that conversation. But then to also want to be sure we piggyback some school committee time with them while they're here. So they're both really excited, and I think we're in an incredibly great place like we were with Alcott of really great options, and now we're in the throes of fit and they're both sitting SPED directors. It's not a discussion of who's capable of the job, it's who's going to be the best fit for us and mutually be a really great match. So we're in a great position.
It's a great place to be.
Yeah.
I'd add to what you say that Kristen Herbert was instrumental in all of this, and the Alcott principalship process was largely followed because that was so successful.
Yes. So really the time pressure is our own internal clocks because we know there's other searches going on and we're trying to be sure we're honoring the fact that these folks may be talking with other districts and we don't want to lose a good option because of a time frame issue. Yeah. So our hope is to keep it moving along and decide tonight how the school committee would like to engage
as
with
we should keep moving on,
decision.
definitely. We don't want to slow it down. Thoughts? Go ahead.
No, I completely understand the timing, and we don't want to hold them back from another opportunity either way. So is there a proposal?
So I would propose, I mean, this isn't I don't think we need formal motions or anything for this. I would propose that we establish 2 of us from Concord to work with Lori over the next few days and be a part of the final interview round. And then we can invite the Carlisle folks to join that also and see if either of them can make it.
Yeah.
Now, Yuval, I'm going to include you in this, although I think because of location and where Yuval and Wally are, both out of the country, it comes down to 2 of the 3 of us.
I probably will be back by Friday, but I think that at least as I see it, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes, it's great.
I would gladly nominate Court and you because you have just more experience. It would be probably more streamlined.
Yes,
Okay,
I would concur.
okay,
Okay.
that's fine. I'd be happy to do it. And I think,
I probably have spent more time with the finalists
You have, yeah.
than almost anybody so far.
Yeah.
Lori, you'll change that when you spend some time with them. But I don't know if that argues for me to be present or for us to bring in a new set of eyes, if you will. It can go either way.
It can go
It'll be
either way.
fine.
Yeah, that would be my only question. Do you feel like you've had enough time such that you could already make your recommendation to Lori?
I think
in which case
I-
maybe Cynthia could get involved.
I think I fully appreciate the considerable strengths that each of them bring, and they're not exactly the same, so it's going to be difficult. But we're going to be well served regardless. So,
I mean, I'm certainly happy to do it. I think it's a matter of, it's a good question, whether it should be the two of us because we've been here longer and you've been involved, or whether Cynthia should get involved because you've been involved already. I don't know. And that.
Well, I'm comfortable. You have a lot of other inputs besides the two of you. We've had considerable discussion with parents, some staff.
Absolutely.
And I would assume that staff like Tom Keene, if I got the name right, at the high school, and
Yeah, he was on the search committee. The other part I'll add is I've been to all the schools and talked with at least the special ed department, if not an open forum with any staff who were interested to hear what they were hoping for in the positions. So we gathered lots of input.
Yeah.
Yes, it's certainly not down to the three of us over the next few days. There's a lot of input coming into this.
And I would defer to those who have expertise
Sure,
in this area.
sure. Okay.
And since you all have just been more immersed in the process and...
Court, you'll be in the position I'm in where I'm asking probing questions to what
Yes.
I've already heard
Which
and seen.
is
And that
great,
might be
yeah.
really
And that
beneficial
could be
to
very
Heather's
valuable.
fresher view, to have us all in a little bit of different place.
Yeah.
We are getting down to some very fine
We are, yeah.
cutting here.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
so
let's
given
do that.
that,
That works.
I would propose then that Heather and I work with you, and as you say, in the interest of streamlining, I think we're best suited to help you streamline it.
Okay, super. So I'll be in touch with schedules as I firm them up with
Perfect.
with each
Okay.
candidate.
That's great.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you for running the process.
No, thank you all.
It's great.
It's been fantastic.
Okay. And I don't, that's all I had under chair's report. Although, no, the rest was just, I was gonna say, mention town meeting, but we're getting to CMS building projects, so I'm gonna hold that.
Yes.
So we'll move right along. Oh, correspondence, sorry. Yes, correspondence. You know what? Since I wasn't officially chair yet, I didn't get on top of this as well. We did have a couple of emails that have come in over the past couple of weeks. Sorry, I don't have them summarized like I normally would. That's my bad. However, let me get to it. Sorry, we've had an invitation to an event about 5G and wireless in municipal buildings. That's been sent to everybody. We had a comment about the passage of the warrant article for the middle school and encouraging us to continue to thinking about it in a sustainable way. We had, what was the next one? As well as an email from the League of Women Voters mentioning the win at the Civics Bee and asking us to think about recognizing those students in one of our next meetings, which we'll be discussing in terms of agendas. And I think that was it in terms of correspondence. I think that was it. Yep, I think that's all. That one complete. And so next one, on to reports for discussion, and we get to bring Cpac back up here and talk about all the work they've been doing all year. So come on up.
Either way.
I think we're set. I don't know how we can
So,
follow up that past
well,
presentation.
Amazing.
It wasn't that often. That was awesome.
And I will introduce briefly, it's Carol and Shayna, but if you could introduce yourselves to the whole audience, that would be great.
We will. So, I'm Carol Yell, co-president of the Cpac, and Shana Breeds
Rito, co-president of Cpac, and we're going to give this report to you. And we thank you for inviting us every year to come and give our report. This is something we work hard on and we're happy to provide. So tonight, we have a few items we're going to cover. We're going to tell you who we are.
Excuse me?
Oh, sorry. Can you see?
Yuval.
Not
I
me.
probably can't hear you.
I really
Yeah.
want to be part of it, and if you will not talk to one of the microphones, I'm not.
So what do we do?
So we'll turn that on, and if you don't mind.
Why don't you sit?
Yeah, do you want to sit at a table or you can stand and hold it either
Can I
way
hold
if
it?
you don't
Yes.
mind? Yeah.
Yeah. So what do I do, right?
And I apologize.
Oh,
No,
no,
don't.
Oh, that's too loud.
No, it's good.
It's all right.
I've got to have a lesson. How's that? Is that better?
That's good.
Okay.
Can you hear that, Yuval?
Okay, so I'm
Wonderful.
Carol Yell, co-president of the Cpac, and this is Shane Brito, co-president of the Cpac, and we're going to present to you our report this year. I wanted to thank the board and Lori for having us come tonight. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to tell you who we are. We're going to talk about community engagement and outreach, district administration, and joint school committee collaboration, as well as looking ahead. Sorry, I need 2 hands.
Yeah.
So I have to read from my notes. So Cpac, what is Cpac? We are the Concord Public Schools and Concord-Carlisle Regional School District Special Education Parent Advisory Council. It's a mouthful, so we go by Cpac. And our goals are to provide education and information to caregivers and the broader community on special education issues and services, establish better understanding of and respect for and support of special education, work with the Concord Public Schools and the Concord-Carlisle Regional School District to ensure student needs are met under applicable laws, including Massachusetts special education regulations. I'm going to do a couple introductions because I do want to identify that everyone on our board and our liaisons are volunteers. A couple people are here tonight. So you met myself, Carol Yell, co-president, and Shana Brito, co-president. Sarah Nichols, our secretary. Casey Atkins is our membership chair. Wendy Froelich is our events chair. Helen McKinley, our publicity chair, and she's here tonight. And Becky Robichaud, our technology chair. We also have in each school a school liaison, which helps keep a person connected to each school. Our school liaisons over at Concord Integrated Preschool is Casey Atkins. Alcott School is Megan Carroll. Thoreau School is Betsy Olsen-Mikowski. And the ILP classroom in Thoreau is Carolyn Siri Blackham. Willard School, Amy Christian. Tresha Jordan over at the Concord Middle School. Myself at the high school. Jessica Hugh at the Pathways program at the high school. And Joanne Jensen, who works as our out-of-district liaison, and she's here tonight. So at this point, I'm actually going to turn the mic over to Shana, and she's going to give you some details of what happened this year. Do you want me to hold it? Or do you want to just take it?
Hi, so I'm Shana Brito, and I'm going to start by talking about Cpac's work in community engagement and outreach this year. We host free events to build community among Cpac members and bring awareness to the greater community. We hold bi-monthly board meetings, and our secretary, Sarah Nichol, takes detailed minutes of those meetings, which she publishes. We've hosted a number of well-attended workshops and talks this year under our events chair, Wendy Froelich. Our events fall usually under 3 categories. We host social events to try to build community among Cpac members and support each other, share information. We host events with the district, and then to share information about matters relevant to special education within Concord and Carlisle. And then we host events with outside speakers, again, to try to cover topics relevant to special education and bring awareness and information to the community. So just to go through for you the events this year, we started with a meet and greet session for parents and caregivers this fall, and that was with the Cpac board. And then we hosted an opportunity to meet with the special education director and the superintendent. Debbie Curtis from the Asperger Autism Network came to share information about resources and information available through AANE. We hosted an event for parents with the special education director and out-of-district coordinator this fall. And then in the winter, we had our basic rights workshop in special education. This is presented by the Federation for Children with Special Needs. And this year we co-hosted that workshop with Acton, Boxborough, Maynard, and Sudbury Cpacs. We hosted an event on ADHD and dyslexia. That was actually our best attended event this year. And that was presented by Dr. Roberto Olivardia. We hosted another social event in the spring, and then our last event of the year will be covering the topic of MCAS access and achievement, also presented by the Federation for Children with Special Needs, and we're co-hosting that workshop also with the Acton Boxborough Cpac. And lastly, we held quarterly meetups this year for parents and caregivers with students in out-of-district placements. The promotion and messaging for all of those events is led by Helen McKinley, our publicity chair. She ensures a consistent Cpac message and tailors our publicity for the target audience. I'd just like to take a minute to thank the Special Education Office and the parent-teacher groups for their help in distribution of our communication this year. This work helps us to build relationships with building administrators, as well as other organizations such as the Center for Parents and Teachers and the parent-teacher groups at all the schools. This year, we co-hosted an event along with the Center for Parents and Teachers. It was presented by Dr. Donna Pincus on the topic of anxiety. We've worked to improve our outreach in the community and have increased overall event attendance. I mentioned our talk on dyslexia and ADHD. We had over 60 attendees come to that talk. The Cpac works to connect with and exchange ideas and support with other local Cpacs, and to that end, we have co-hosted 2 workshops this year, as I mentioned, the Basic Rights Workshop and the upcoming MCAS Workshop. Cpac uses technology and social media for community engagement and outreach. Our technology chair, Rebecca Robichaud, maintains Cpac's media presence across multiple platforms. We have a well-trafficked and very informative website. We have a Twitter page with about 230 followers. And we have a Facebook page which also has about 323 followers. And we use those platforms to share information about Cpac events, special education updates, as well as to share information, articles, and resources with the larger community. In addition, we have a high-interest digital newsletter. This is published monthly by Cpac through the Office of Special Education, and that goes out to all parents and caregivers of students in special education. We've had 7 issues so far this year, each receiving about 300 views, and each issue highlights a topic relevant to special education. If you'd like to be added to our distribution list, feel free to contact us at the Concord Cpac Gmail, which you can also find on our website. And I'm just going to take a minute to show you an example. If I can do it.
They're so well done.
I know.
I looked at them and thought I have to up my game. I was like, very professionally.
It's true.
Together.
They're very nice.
It's strange that didn't go to the screen. Can you get to it outside of the PowerPoint? Go to the internet directly? Something with the pop-up, I think, is the...
Yeah, blocking or something.
If you minimize the PowerPoint, I think we can see it behind it, actually, Shanna.
Thank you.
There you go.
There you go. Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is one example of our newsletter. This is our October newsletter. And as I mentioned, we pick a topic to highlight each month. For October, we highlighted our Disability Awareness Month. And we started by recommending a number of children's books to serve as resources to help parents and caregivers engage in a dialogue with their students about learning disabilities. We followed with information about our upcoming event, which in this case was an opportunity to meet with the special education director and the superintendent. And then we moved on to highlighting some events that were coming up in the community. One of them was the Fall Family Festival at the Ripley Playscape. Following on the Ripley Playscape, which is an accessible playground, we provided a link with a listing of local accessible playgrounds in Massachusetts. We followed with some information for parents and caregivers on convening IEP team meetings. And lastly, we followed with a couple of websites with information on learning disabilities. So that's just one example, and each month, like I said, we highlight a different topic relevant to special education. School connection is very important to Cpac. As Carol mentioned, we have a liaison at each of the schools, and our liaisons are organized by Casey Atkins, who is our membership chair. The liaisons attend back to school nights, and they provide information about Cpac, and they act as a local contact between Cpac and each of the buildings. To highlight some of the work of our liaisons this year, Megan and Carol, the Alcott School liaison, served on the Alcott Principal Search Committee, and Joanne Jensen, our out-of-district liaison, opted a survey of out-of-district families to help Cpac determine how we can best support and help those families feel connected to Cpac. Cpac also collaborates closely with the administration. We hold bi-monthly meetings with administration, which help us build a strong relationship, have an open dialogue, and share both commendations and concerns that come to us from parents and caregivers. As I mentioned, we hosted a number of events in collaboration with administration. I mentioned our annual welcome event with the Director of Special Education and our Superintendent, also the Q&A session for out-of-district families. And in addition, this year, when Cpac came to the school committee and the school district with a number of concerns that parents and caregivers had brought to us, that resulted in the collaboration to establish a special education update panel. That panel was put together very quickly and in great collaboration between Cpac and the school committee and the school district, and was attended by the superintendent, acting director of special education, as well as many of the building principals and a number of school committee members in attendance. Lastly, the district sponsors our MassPac Plus membership for Cpac that funds our basic rights and special education workshop each year. That also provides a resource for the Cpac board regarding information and support as Cpac leaders. And lastly, allows us to send a representative to the Federation's Business of Community Conference each year, which is a great opportunity to gain information, learn about possible events for future meetings. Cpac is really grateful for the relationship that has not only allowed for but valued Cpac's representation on various committees this year. As I mentioned, the Alcott Liaison served on the Alcott Principal Search. In addition, 2 Cpac representatives just served on the search committee for the Director of Student Services. We were actually just contacted recently by Justin Cameron regarding a Cpac rep to serve on the interview panel for the special education team chairperson at the Concord Middle School. And lastly, we have Cpac representation at PG meetings, which allows us to collaborate with the other parent groups. In addition, Cpac works with the Joint School Committee. We had a subcommittee this year consisting of myself, Tally Dittman-Brunier, and Rebecca Robichaud to provide input to the school committee on policies related to special education. I know she couldn't be here tonight, but wanted to take a minute to thank Christine Lear for serving as the Cpac committee representative this year, in conjunction with Heather Bout for your support on matters pertaining to Concord Public Schools. The Cpac board closely followed the budget discussions and Concord Public School warrant Article 14, writing a letter of support for the school committee's recommendations. And in addition, as you saw tonight, we enjoyed presenting our annual appreciation awards at the school committee meeting. And this year, the committee was led by Helen McKinley, Rebecca Robichaud, and Casey Atkins. And we just see it as a wonderful opportunity to recognize teachers and staff for their outstanding contributions to students in special education. Looking ahead, the Cpac looks forward to the school committee's appointment of a representative for the upcoming school year. We plan to hold regular meetings with the new Director of Student Services to build a relationship with that individual and continue our collaboration with the district. Cpac plans to play a proactive role in the tiered focus monitoring for the upcoming year and to continue to collaborate with the district and the school committee to reinforce the messaging that all students matter and meeting the needs of one group of students does not preclude meeting the needs of another. Cpac wishes to continue our involvement in the Wested program review with parents and caregivers throughout the entire process. Continuing an open dialogue as changes are considered, and continuing to work together to support the creation and refinement of existing programs and curriculum to best support the needs of special education students. Cpac views the upcoming English Language Arts Curriculum Review as an opportunity to better support students with language-based learning disabilities, and also the upcoming Concord Middle School reconfiguration process as another point at which special education students' needs can be considered. Looking ahead, Cpac will continue to serve as a resource for caregivers in answering questions, providing information, connecting with families and the school district and school committee. And as stated in the district mission, our priority is the students and collaborating with all stakeholders to ensure this vision is realized for families of students in special education. So thank you for your time tonight, and Carol and I are happy to answer any questions.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Wow, what a great presentation. There is a lot you guys are doing every year. Questions from our big crowd here?
I just want to say that watching this organization grow at a stratospheric rate over the last couple of years is a truly amazing accomplishment. And you've become such a great resource to families in all the cities, Concord-Carlisle and Boston. And you should congratulate yourselves for that. It's invaluable, and it's really a commitment to the community.
And I would echo also, having worked with you throughout the year, it's great to feel the collaboration that we have. And so thank you for your support in what we work on, and let's continue it. Thank you for this report.
Thank you.
What's pretty clear is you have extraordinary credibility. You know, we saw throughout the presentation how you're embedded in the life of the schools now, contributing in the process of decision-making behind special education services and student services. It's abundantly clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. And you can relax now. You've had quite a full night here tonight. Okay. Moving on from there. Now I get to talk about the CMS building project.
Indeed you can, and tonight we're happy to do that, I think.
Yes, exactly.
A little different conversation
It is
than
a
we've
different
been having.
conversation than we've been having for a while. For anyone who hasn't been paying any attention, warrant Article 14 at town meeting with the funding for our feasibility study and design passed by well more than the 2/3 needed. And so we were very excited for that, and very appreciative, I want to say, to everyone in town. Not only those who came to town meeting and stuck it out, it was a late night that Monday night, and voted to support it. Also, all of those who came to our info sessions and tours and forums and all kinds of events. I will say I felt like when it got to the discussion about this warrant article at town meeting, it felt like one of the most informed discussions that I'd seen there, because people had really taken the time in advance to come and discuss and ask their questions in advance, and it felt it at town meeting, like people had asked their questions and really engaged early on. So I thank the town for that, and to everybody who came and engaged with us. So then there are updates in terms of next steps. The select board last night helped us significantly by scheduling the election that will now need to happen in order to complete this step. So June 4th will be the special election in town. In order for this funding to actually go through, because it is a debt exclusion, it needs to be passed, as we've talked about, not only at town meeting, but also at the polls. At town meeting, it was a 2/3 vote necessarily. At the polls, it's just majority. But we also don't want to dismiss this as done. It's important that we all show up and vote and make sure our voices are heard there as well. So June 4th will be the special election to provide the final approval for the debt exclusion for the up to 1.5 million for the feasibility study and design. So thank you to the select board for setting that as quickly as possible so we can keep moving forward. They also, last night at the select board, discussed the building committee and the creation of it. They have not finalized it yet, but I would also like to extend thanks. They really did take our feedback into account, and have made a bunch of changes since the last draft of the committee charge. Several of the things that we had recommended and requested. So that was very much appreciated. And I know they're hoping to finalize that draft at ideally their next meeting. So that's the update there. What else did we have on that? That's basically the CMS update. That's about where we are. And just because Mike Lawson, the chair of the select board, is here, did you have anything to add to the discussion from last night? That's pretty much where we are.
We're still all recuperating, to be honest.
I know, exactly.
Trying to remember what life was besides that building. So
yes.
It's a good place we're in, and
catching up with our families.
It's going to continue right on, so we're using the time here.
It will, and I know that, in terms of our timeline, we are not done by any means, and we want to be ready to hit the ground really running, assuming this passes at the polls. And so that's why we're very appreciative that the discussion of the building committee is moving along quickly. I would encourage anyone who is interested in volunteering for the building committee to fill out a green card. You could do that online or at the townhouse. I know that they are looking for volunteers, particularly with experience in relevant areas, whether it be construction, architecture, sustainability, various things like that. But looking for volunteers, so I encourage people to reach out if you have that interest and background. And we are really I think for us, it will be important, I think it will probably be at our next meeting when we have more people here, to decide who we send to represent us on that building committee. And then hopefully we'll be ready to hit the ground running. We also said that we would help provide feedback on an RFP for that building committee to use to then hire an OPM and the service providers for those. So that's where we are.
I could add, I think the select board are very sensitive to the fact that the work in front of them, in front of this building committee, is significant enough so that a one-year clock is going to be a very, very difficult one to meet. Still one to hope for and work for, but nobody underestimates the magnitude of the work.
Right.
Yep, it's a big project that we're looking at. The estimates for a feasibility study and design tend to be 12 to 18 months. And so if we were to really hit that schedule aggressively, we would love to be back at town meeting next year with a schematic design and price tag, but we have to be very efficient to really get that 12 to 18 months down and finish it within 11 months even.
And with no compromise.
Right, exactly.
Because
so that will be our goal, and we'll see if it's realistic.
Because the one other thing, a citizen did propose a number of sustainability initiatives to be attached as an attachment to the charge. And we know trying to do that, well, we'll probably learn, trying to do that correctly might add a little additional time.
It could.
But
absolutely
savings down the road.
Right.
So.
Yep, and we certainly, we are committed to moving forward along the sustainability principles that Concord has committed to. And I think it'll be fun and exciting to design the building that way. And you're right, it will take some more time because a lot of it is new territory.
Changing.
Yes, and changing by the day.
Yeah.
So this is a little odd to do this thank you with Wally out of the country and Bob and Joanna here, but I can't have this meeting go by without the incredible thank you to the Concord School Committee that existed as we led into that town meeting. The amount of time and energy and commitment you put in is why we succeeded there, because there was no rock unturned or community member unmet with. You went finding them, you don't wait for people to come to you, you went finding them, and it was a huge chunk of your family time, I know that, and I think your families are part of, they're gonna need a plaque on the building should we get that far, and you can't go without saying that unprecedented amount of hands-on work by a school committee in my 20 years as an administrator, and I don't think we would be where we were without that. So
thank you.
Thank you. No, I mean that in all sincerity. I think your advocacy and efforts to reach out and connect with this community made a huge, enormous difference.
That's great. I'm glad to know. Glad to know it was worth it and valuable.
And your family is due for
Well,
yes.
you paid me for that, but yes, my family should get a note somewhere too.
Right.
But,
we don't pay them, so
no,
we owe them a great
that's
gratitude
okay.
also.
And,
as well as Jared's.
Sure. Yes. And this whole school system had other things get put on back burners while we were making those efforts, and I think the patience we were able to ask of people who were wanting other things from us after town meeting, after town meeting, just a really united priority made from everyone, and it mattered greatly.
Yeah.
And, I'm still, thinking it's a little surreal. So
I know.
We're still letting it sink in. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Really exciting.
Absolutely. I think that's it on that. No other next steps on that, right? Which brings us to, wow, we're flying through just one more item. And this is a very quick update. I just wanted to update on our process for, thank you. There's a quick handout here. Did any of these go that way? Yeah, we can hand some that way.
I didn't even keep one for myself.
Okay, then I'll do that, and you can pass those back. Just wanted to talk quickly about the process for the superintendent evaluation. Of course, this is, again, going to be mostly the school committee that was, because it will be those who have been seated for the past year who will participate in this. But I've just kind of taken the lead on organizing it, so we have someone coordinating at least. I started to sketch out a tentative schedule. Even after looking at this, I think I'm shifting a few of the dates since I wrote it out even. Yeah. But this basic concept will help us to give some structure to what we'll do over the next basically 6 weeks. I think we're in a good position to do it. Last year, we did for the first time a staff survey, and we're looking at doing that again. I think it was very useful to all of us. We're not likely to change it much because we're looking for consistency. Maybe we would add a little something, maybe not. We haven't decided that yet. But that will probably go out pretty soon, probably by next week. Lori will complete a self-evaluation relatively soon. We will all see the survey results probably after about a week. Then we each will meet with Lori, so she'll reach out to each of us to set a time to meet. And then we each fill out an evaluation form. Many of us have done this, but it's new to you. And then I will take on the task of taking those and summarizing them in the last couple of weeks, and then we'll present it June 11th, which is not our last meeting of the year, our second to last. We have a June 11th and June 18th meeting. It's a joint, yes. They're both joint meetings. So yes, it'll be joint. The last thing in here that's not really on here, because it's, I guess, just process really, is we do want to make sure that we're all completely on the same page in terms of, not the metrics, but because those are defined, but the lens through which we view the metrics and how we're using them and how we are rating and everything, so that we're all consistent. I'm looking into whether we might be able to add a slight joint section to our May 14th meeting, if that's a possibility to have a discussion then. We don't know yet if anyone from Carlisle is available. If not, I will basically just take some info from the DESI site that I've been looking at and disseminate it to all of us to say, here, this is what they have on this website. Let's just use this consistently to keep us all on the same page.
I think we might also reach back to a couple of the departing members of the school committee, some of whom had opinions about our efforts to be consistent a year ago. We were self-critical in the best sense of the word about the very matter you're talking about. Are we looking at things through the same lens? We'll look at it differently, but we want to make sure we have the same lens.
Right,
and
exactly.
Nobody was displeased a year ago, but there was still thought that the school committee had room for improvement.
Right, exactly.
I do think that some of the ex-members could offer up
absolutely,
pretty sage counsel on this.
Yeah, absolutely. We will bring them into this as well because they're part of the discussion that needs to be consistent. There's no doubt. So I will follow up on that. But I just kind of wanted to put it out here so that everybody knows we have a general schedule that we're looking at. Some of this might even move up. I think Laura's going to start to connect with us on meeting times.
Meetings on my calendar.
Right. And there's really no reason, for instance, on that one to wait until May 6th. So that can be any time. A lot of this can kind of be any time as of now. So just to put it out there, we're starting the process. And if you have any specific thoughts or feedback other than that, let me know.
I think the lens is critical.
It is critical. And while we reach out to the ex-members, so to speak, it's also good to have the new members a part of this discussion because that lens should be consistent going forward as well.
Exactly.
So I think it's a very important conversation to have. So that's that.
So thank you for doing this. No, this is good work.
No problem. Good, I'm glad. Any other questions, thoughts on that one?
There are no margins in this timeline. This is another quick timeline for us.
We're used to that.
We
actually thought it felt
we actually
this afternoon.
We thought it.
Right, there aren't.
Not too tight. Compared to
Jared and I had pretty funny moments of like, you give us a whole week to get something done, we are totally relaxed. Give us a day, is what we're used to right now. So
exactly.
An hour, 2 hours. Yeah.
Heather, I just had a question if we're close to adjourning.
We are close. Anything else?
Just as far as liaisons for Concord committees, we have none as of now.
Right. So what we've tended to do is just do all of that together once we have the joint committee. Although there might be some that are purely Concord. For instance, the building committee will be purely Concord. However, the reason we've waited to do them all together is really load balance.
Right.
Because as we start to figure out who's doing what, each of us have to do our own personal load balance and how many can each person do.
Right.
So we were going to do that a few weeks from now.
Were you going to propose something at that point, or are you just going to have it served?
In terms of process, how we do
typically
it.
what we do is we'll get a list prior and we'll all think about it, and I think we can then speak independently.
So you'll
to
see,
chairs.
I can send out the list of choices, so you can start considering.
Right, and there's the official list of liaisons, and then there are other ones that we have that are just, subcommittees, or there are a few others that have been on our list also.
At least
So
the formal list of liaisons.
There's the formal
we can
list
be
of
sure to
liaisons that is what we
send it
have
out
to.
again.
But I assume
have to
like
see.
Carlisle members would take the Carlisle, FinCom, et cetera.
Yes, generally that tends, right, exactly. And Concord members will take Concord FinCom and Concord Select Board and all that kind of thing. So yes, we'll send out the list, and then if you want to start to send to the chairs or either chair, well, we only have a chair of CPS at this point, so if you want to send to me kind of your preferences and thoughts or anything, I can start to collect that, and then we can go through it and finalize it all in our public meeting. The 28th is the one when next time we have the joint all together.
Great. And then we actually hash it out live here.
Yeah, and sometimes we'll shift things around and move it, so just kind of figuring out what makes sense.
But I think your point is well taken. We need to be sure that for the next, 6 weeks, we have quite a gap now between now and the next regional meeting. We want to make sure that activities around town do get covered.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I would assume that the Concord Finance Committee and obviously the Select Board will continue to have conversations around the middle school building, and I want to be sure that we.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why Heather.
So that's why, and actually they were too.
So we could use a little more structure to that rather than a day-to-day discussion.
That's what Cindy and I thought last night. We saw 4 of us.
I know. So yeah, I mean, I guess you're right.
You can err on both sides of that.
The rest of the world doesn't wait for us to. You're right. Maybe in the meantime, we can just kind of figure out, based on who's in town, who can go to the select board meeting, who can go to the FinCom meeting, so that we have someone at each just to know what's going on, and whoever has been there can report back.
We'll leave you and Lori to keep an eye on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And other ones, I'm just kind of assuming, like the ones that I was on from last year, I'm just going to
keep going
and for the next few weeks until we make any changes. Okay, good. Anything else before we?
Yeah, I want to thank you for taking on the chair role. And we want to hear from you all. He's in a different time zone, but he's doing very well.
Yes, Yuval, are you still awake?
Considering the fact that it's 1:20 a.m. here, I earned the honor of bringing on the motion to adjourn.
You have earned that. There's a motion on the table to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you, Yuval. You may go to bed.